Women's Investment Portfolio Holdings Limited, Wiphold for short, is celebrating 20 years of women empowerment this month. It now has over 200,000 female beneficiaries. One of its founding members, Gloria Serobe, is with us in the studio this morning. Gloria, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
I mean, when you started Wiphold in 1994, did you think you'll get to here today?
No, we did. That's why we put so much effort into establishing it. We spent 2 years just putting it together, doing the roadshows countrywide and telling women that we want to do this. And the other thing is, for it to be sustainable, it had to be a hell of a lot of women. And so we did have an idea that it will be 20 years more.
Yeah, it's you and Louisa Mujela. What was driving you guys in the beginning? What was the real thing that was driving you?
Actually, it was me, Louisa, Nomhle Kanka,
yes, and
Wendy Lohabe. And what was really driving us was that in business nobody invites anyone, but even more so women. That is a worldwide phenomenon. And so we decided to invite ourselves to business and to do it our way. And because there was this change in the country from the old regime to the new regime, a lot was changing, and blacks were now looking at being in the mainstream of the economy as well, except that blacks became men again. And so we just decided that I think as women, let's just do it.
Must have not been easy. I mean, just to raise capital those days, especially for black women business people, it must have been tough for you.
It was, but I have to say this then, that in that 1 year when we went to women to do an IPO, the women of South Africa actually raised 25 million rands. And within 12 months, when we needed to do a rights offer, they raised another 74 million rands. That means in a space of 12 months, women raised 100 million rands. It's unheard of. And it was their money in their names, in their IPOs, in their certificates. As to where the money came from, whether it came from husbands or boyfriends, we don't care. But the women actually placed 100 million rands on the table. You
say you went around the country doing the roadshow. So you saw these original shareholders of Whiphold face to face, one-on-one.
We actually encourage them to group themselves into either stokvels or groups, and that we will come back in 2 years' time to show them where the portfolio is, because we didn't want to take their money when there's no portfolio. That was a time of the pyramid schemes. People were losing money on things that they wouldn't be able to tell what happened. So we went to them 2 years later with a portfolio of assets and with an IPO specifically for women to participate. Very complicated, because an IPO is an IPO, so men like you could have participated, but we actually asked people to sign an affidavit to say they are women, at least on that day.
So you wanted to make sure that the beneficiaries were women?
Yes, because the whole ideology of Wiphold is just that we have to force women to be shareholders as well as just like we are recognized as consumers.
Yeah. Looking at your fact sheet, I mean, you started with a capital of 500,000. You're sitting down today with a net asset value of 2 billion. And in the time, you've distributed about R500 million to these women. Are they still part of Wiphold, or has that part of your structure changed over the past 20 years?
They are still part of Wiphold. When we did the delisting from the stock exchange, we made sure that that structure of women, which is a WIP trust, which has got strong voting rights of 100 to 1, is still there, that structure. And it owns 15% of the company, and 17.5% we made it owned by the NGOs, because we were still worried about, of course, the individual women were 18,000 women, and we did think that we could reach out some more by creating this shareholding for the NGO trust, which I have to say, those are NGOs that are known. You know, this community trust now, sometimes you don't know who's there.
Yes, you don't know the faces behind them.
Yeah, so we have, you know, POWA, we've got Baptist Church, we've got Denusa, we've got Banking Union, the chapter of women. So we've got known organizations.
I mean, I'm not saying this because you're sitting here, but I mean, it would be fair to describe you as a trailblazer in a sort in this black empowerment landscape, because you were starting all of this long before broad-based black economic empowerment was a buzzword or even became law. You were already leading the way.
I'm glad, Dan, you're saying that, because we want to believe that the BE policy of government was based on our model. We told them they must just give us credit. We like that.
Yeah, hopefully you'll get it one of
hopefully
these days.
we'll get. But having said that, what we appreciate as well is that our environment was more enabled by government. The gender policy of government was very clear and well articulated. And so it was, of course, still difficult, but we had the privilege of being championed by government as women. And so when you sit in the boardrooms, people knew that if you don't think women, that doesn't sit well with the government. So that helped a bit. Okay.
Now the future. I mean, we're running out of time now. We don't have that long of a time this morning. Future of Wiphold, where do you see it? I mean, you're looking ahead now. You and Louise are still there. You've got all this broad-basedness that you've had for 20 years. You've been successful. You're no longer listed. Does the future include another relisting maybe?
Oh no, that listing was quite hectic because it did dilute the shareholding of women, because you can't control now what happens in the stock exchange. So for now, we don't have the appetite for listing. What we do have the appetite for is to disrupt some sectors that are still struggling to have women. So cement industry. We are building a cement plant in Limpopo. We're very excited about that. By the way, last week, the R500 million from the Chinese investors came into the country as their equity. So we have contributed to the FDI, I think, of the country. We need some champagne for that as well. And so we're still concentrating on certain sectors that we want to go in there and change that conversation. So financial services, we're very strong there. Infrastructure, we're very strong. And coal business, we are partners with Sasol. We want to own a coal operation that is owned and managed by women with the help of Sasol, thanks God. And so we're still on sectors as opposed to going for the listing.
Okay, we wish you all the best.
Thank
you. As you pump champagne this week, I think for some of us, and you really deserve the champagne.
Thank you
good
very
luck with
much.
the celebrations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's Gloria Serobe, founding member of Wiphold.
Know more about your world.
eNCA.com